Welcome back to the channel, folks. It's 2025 and this is my first video of the year. Let's wrap up 2024 with my 5 best books of the year. Season's greetings, Happy New Year and all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys have had a nice Christmas break and I hope you have enjoyed your December reading. I'm going to be wrapping up 2024 a little bit later than was planned. I came down with the flu over Christmas and all the videos I planned to record to wrap up my year of reading went up the spout, as so to speak. So I am spending the first kind of week or two of January wrapping up my 2024 reading, and I'm going to start that with my 5 favourite books of 2024. Now, 2024 wasn't my best reading in terms of quantity of books. I actually only read like 30 out of the, and my goal was like 50 books, so I didn't hit the mark. But lots of, it's been a very busy year for me, so reading has kind of, in certain months of the year, had to take a back seat because of stuff, and I was training for a managerial role in my job, which I'm starting mid-January, so there was a lot of kind of headspace concentrating on that. So even though I didn't read a huge amount of books, I read some high-quality, absolute awesome books, and whittling it down to 5 of them was a job and a half, but I have done so. So we shall start with number 5. We're going to go 5 to 1. So number 5 is Gates of Sorrow by J.E. Hannaford. This is the second book in the Aurelian Gates trilogy. I read this way back in January. I read the arc back in January, and I absolutely love this book. It basically builds upon what the first book did, which was Gates of Hope, which was this one. This is the old front cover. It's now the front cover. She's now updated. She's updated the front covers to kind of look more cool and modern and epic. But I still love this one. I still love this cover. But yeah. So I mean, the second book, it carries on expanding the world building. We learn more about the different worlds that our characters are living on. We also start understanding a bit more about the connection between the two worlds, and we start really exploring the dragons of this world as well, which is absolutely fascinating. You've got Darren gets to know the group called the Howlers much more, and we start learning about we start learning about a little bit more about their world, about their culture and their society. The Howlers is some of my favourite parts of Gates of Sorrow. I just love the individual characters in them, they're brilliant. J. Hannaford excels in character. She does great witty dialogue, and she just brings these characters to life. They just lift off the page, and they're absolutely fantastic. We also get Surin, who is dealing with a lot of guilt about what she did at the end of book 1, Gates of Hope. So there's a lot of her dealing with her inner demons and dealing with what she has caused. And then, of course, we follow Alyssa, who starts to have a very, very fascinating journey, closely linked with the dragons, and we get to learn more about them as a kind of entity and what they, how the importance of them to the gates that link the worlds and everything like that. So it just expands everything that she set up in book 1, and just makes it bigger and better and more emotionally impactful. So I cannot wait for the 3rd book in that trilogy. So Gates of Sorrow sits there at number 5. Absolutely fantastic book. Book number 4 is Falling into Oblivion by Aaron M. Payne. This is a cyberpunk thriller. I absolutely love this book. It was breakneck speed, fast-paced, but good character work as well. You know, it's fast-paced and action-packed, but it doesn't sacrifice character. It's essentially about a guy, he's a detective, and he literally just wants to go home. He wants to go home to his family, and unfortunately he has to solve this murder that has happened under mysterious circumstances, and it involves kind of like bogus tech. And in this future, in this cyberpunk world, basically the detectives earn credits. They earn money for how fast they can solve a murder. So it's basically it kind of spans over a couple of days, I think, or just like 24 hours. And it is a race against time to get the perpetrators of this crime behind bars. And there's lots of kind of mechanical animals. There's really good like cyber tech ideas in here. And the actual, the central character himself is, full of charisma. He's got great witty humour about him. And Aaron writes with just a real ease and a real kind of fluidity that just makes it a really fast-paced, exciting read. And it packs a load in. We don't learn a huge amount. We don't learn a huge amount about the main character, but what we do is, essential to the story, and this is a series that's going to continue on, so we'll get to know the main character and his family that little bit more as we go forward. So that is the first book in the Tendrils of Chrome series, and if you like a bit of cyberpunk, a bit of science fiction, action-packed stories, then go and read Falling into Oblivion by Aaron M. Payne. He's also a fantastic booktuber as well, and hopefully we'll be having a chat soon on my channel, so stick around for that one, keep your eyes peeled. The next book on my list is another science fiction book, and it is One Way by S.J. Morden. This is the first book I've ever read by this author, and this is a fantastic kind of thriller. It is, it's a claustrophobic, immersive, chilling thriller. It's partially set on Earth, and then the rest of the book is set on Mars, and it's basically about this corporate company that is looking for essentially expendable workers. And so what they do is they create a program where they basically use prison inmates who are on death row. They've done some horrific things like murder and all these kind of bad things, and they basically select a few people depending on what skills they've got. So they'll pick an engineer, they'll pick a scientist who excels in biology, and our main character Frank, he has leadership skills. He has a very kind of quick mind. So he's kind of the self-appointed leader of this group of inmates. And when they get to Mars, one by one, the inmates start dying under mysterious circumstances. And it's up to Frank to kind of figure out what the hell's going on. And, the more people are murdered, the less a skill set is gone. So, it makes the situation more and more dire as we go along the book, and it's fantastic. There is a second book as well called No Way, I think, which I'm going to plan to read hopefully this year as well. So that's One Way by S.J. Morden. If you are looking for really tense, atmospheric, immersive thriller, and you like a bit of sci-fi, grounded sci-fi, then One Way by S.J. Morden is definitely a book you need to pick up. There's number 3 on my list. So we're coming up to book 1 and 2 of my best reads of 2025, and I mean, if I could give both these books the number 1 spot, I could, but my self-appointed rules cannot allow 2 number 1s, so there has to be a number 2. And my number 2, it was actually my number 1 until I read book number 1. But that book is the highly acclaimed, fantastic, amazing, fungal punk book of Mushroom Blues by Adrian M. Gibson. This book is fantastic. It is uncompromising in its themes, in its characterization. It tackles difficult and hard themes and topics and puts it in a very entertaining bundle in this book, which is a detective noir, essentially. We follow Detective Henrietta Hoffman, who is essentially assigned to the city of Neo Kinoko, and this is a city that is inhabited by mushroom people, the fungi people, and Detective Hoffman is highly racist towards them. She does not like them as a people, as a culture. She's disgusted by them, and she is partnered up with a fungal officer called Koji Namako, and they have to work together to basically to basically solve the murder of a small fungal child who is found. And yeah, as you can hear from the description, it does deal with a lot of hefty issues. But I think Adrian does it with aplomb. He does it with skill. He integrates it into the narrative expertly. His characterization is fantastic. Koji Namiko is one of my favourite characters I've read in a very, very long while. And Hoffman is a character who is very difficult to like, but I think goes through a change and goes through a journey in the book that I found really, really satisfying. But just the world building alone, the world of Mushroom Blues is fascinating, and there is a lot of thought and processes put into this world by Adrian. I just loved the uncompromising nature of it. He was not afraid to tackle these hard issues and unlikable characters, and I think he does it really, really well. And this book stays with me. Even now I think about it ever so often. So when books can do that, when they can stick around in my head even months and months, possibly a year after I've read it, it's a sign of a good book, sign of a good writer, good author. So Mushroom Blues is science fiction and fantasy, detective noir book. Absolutely fantastic. If you love that genre, if you love cyberpunk genre, you'll love the fungal punk of Mushroom Blues. So go read it. It's fantastic. And my last book, which knocked Mushroom Blues off the top spot late in the year, is a debut novel by a debut indie author, and that is Wingspan of Treason by L.N. Bayon. If you've been following my channel, I've been singing the praises of this amazing author and this absolutely astonishing debut novel. It's a chonker for starters, but it is one of the most immersive, incredible worlds that I have entered for a very, very long time, with some characters that are living in my head rent-free. And it follows three young lads who have basically ran away from their country, and they enter a world that is very, very unfamiliar to them. They come from a slightly colder climate with forests and mountains, and they're basically plunged into this desert, arid world with its own kind of secret culture, its own power. The desert is sentient, and these three characters have to basically come to terms with living in this new culture and come into terms with themselves and the changes that are happening around them and inside of them. It's a coming of age story. It is a story about finding out who you are inside your heart and your soul. And I think L.N. Bayon does a magnificent job of putting this across. It's epic in scope, but it's very intimate in the way it deals with the characters. It feels very personal, very emotionally impactful, emotionally investing, and her prose is absolutely gorgeous. Some of the most beautiful prose that I have read in a very, very long time. And this book, simply for me, is a masterpiece. I truly believe this is a masterpiece, and I think we have got a hell of an author who really, really needs to have her praises sung and her book read, because I want everyone to experience Wingspan of Treason the way I did. And it was just one of those books that hit me at the right time. I was going through a really rough patch in October. I had some personal family things going on, and you just read these books and it has that emotional punch, that emotional kind of hit, and it really, really, really worked for me. So Wingspan of Treason by L.N. Bayon. It is available to buy now. I implore you, if you like epic fantasy but deals with characters in a very intimate, small, personal way, then you get this book and you read it, because it is fantastic. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is my top 5 books of 2024. I had a really good year in terms of quality, just not in terms of quantity, but at the end of the day, I think the immersive experience of reading a few books is better than blasting way through a load of books and not really allowing yourself to have that time for it to settle inside you. So I think I mean, I'm gonna make a video about my kind of 2025 goals, and one of those goals is to basically not worry about numbers as much in terms of the amount that I need to read or want to read, and it's going to be more about the experience and the immersion of the stories that I'm kind of entering in. But that'll be in a different video. So for now, I hope you had a wonderful 2024 of reading. Let me know what your top books were of 2024 in the comments below. Tell me if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned. Let's have a chat about it in the conversation below. So I shall see you in the next video, and that will be in a few days' time. So yeah, January is going to be quite busy in terms of just catching up with my 2024 wrap up and looking forward to 2025. So revel in the destruction of your TBR, ladies and gentlemen, and I shall see you later. Goodbye.